that means we just hit one of our goals. Some of them can be quite fun. Like you might get a cowboy hat and a mustache, or some like player glasses, or a princess crown, or whatever. People do all kinds of stuff, and there's dozens of gifts you can choose from. So you may see that come up a little bit. There you go. There's a cowboy hat.
There it is, right?
Every guest we've had on that's Instagram or YouTube familiar, than not TikTok familiar, comes on at the end of the show. They're like, "Man, that was a lot of fucking fun. Like this was great. Like I had no idea." It's
Is
it's a wide open format, Charlie. It's pretty
nice.
wild.
Is Celtic?
Thanks.
You got a question already, bud? Throw it up there, man. I think he's going to stump us with something.
Yes. While that's cooking up there, how did you get into something this scientific? Do you have a scientific background, Charlie, or what made you go down this path, my friend?
I have a computer science background. That's about it. So I have a computer science degree, but I don't.
Okay, monsoon test.
I've so monsoon test. I'll answer that before I forget. It's about 90%, 98% accurate right now. We're still working on it, trying to figure out exactly where the exact mutation is. But we've tested a few hundred known animals, and we've had probably about 3 or 4 now. Not errors, I guess you could say. So hets that are showing that on the test that they're visual homozygous monsoons.
Okay.
Which that's not a huge deal, but still want to get the actual mutation. That just shows us that it's not the actual causative mutation. So not the actual thing. It's more of like a very good marker for a monsoon. So it's still being worked on. It's honestly, time right now is just the hardest thing for me to manage. I have a full-time day job, and this is a side business, and it was a side hobby for a while. So that's how it started. I saw a few years ago now, I saw Dr. Hannah Seidel from Eastern Michigan University talking on a podcast saying how she was having her grad students extract DNA from ball python sheds, and that they had identified certain mutations. And I'm located just outside of Albany, New York. I'm somebody who, when I see something that interests me, I'm like, I got to see if I could do it. I've done that in a bunch of different hobbies/businesses in the past, and this one, I was like, I really didn't think that I was going to be able to do it. It was the first time I was like, this is stupid. Why are you even looking at this? You can't do this. This is nuts. But I went down the rabbit hole of Google and YouTube, and man, maybe I can do this. I'm like, it doesn't seem that crazy. So I just researched for months and months, asking people questions, calling people up, and companies and scientists, and a lot of people helped me along the way. And
That's cool.
That's a great gift.
so I would say probably after 6 months or so of research, I invested a few $1,000s in some equipment, and I did not know what I was doing, and it was not working for probably a good couple months, and it was frustrating. I was like, well, I lost that money. This ain't gonna work. And then some things started clicking, things that I was doing wrong, things that weren't, going as they should, weren't going as they should for a reason, because I was doing things wrong.
So, what were the things? Like, was it the analytics of the data? Was it simply taking a skin and culturing it properly under a slide? Was it the
No,
operation of the
no.
equipment, calibration, or like, what do you mean?
It's the process. So first you have to extract the DNA out of the shed with a certain process, and then you take that DNA and you mix it with other reagents, and then you run it through a PCR, and then there's multiple ways that you could genotype it. So you have to know where. So, for instance, Dr. Seidel published a few different mutations that she found. So I was able to order the primers for that. So the primers is what actually attaches to a certain part of the DNA strand. So DNA is huge. all I need is one nucleotide of that DNA, of those billions. So these
Okay.
primers actually attach to a certain location that you're telling it to and multiply when it's doing PCR billions of times, making billions of copies of this little tiny piece that you need. And then from then you could either run it on a gel and you see those bands like you'll see in pictures and things like bands, yellow or black and white bands on a gel, and you could read it through that, or you could read it through a process called Sanger sequencing, where you then send the final product out to a lab and they have to sequence it. So that's the part I wasn't getting. Like, I didn't realize I had to do that. I thought everything was going to be run on this gel and nothing was working and whatever. And then just getting all of the exact quantities correct, and doing a little bit of math and just figuring things out and using the right equipment. So things just, when you try to do it right off the bat, like a lot of people think like, oh, I could buy equipment, spend a few grand and do it. Sure, you could do it. You could buy the equipment. You could get cheap equipment for a few grand, and that's what I did in the beginning. I only spent probably $4,000 or $5,000, and I very soon realized after that I need to spend a lot more.
Yeah.
And I did, and since that day I've spent can I curse on this? I'm bad.
Yeah. You just can't. You can't say like we used unalived instead of the other version of no longer having a pulse.
Okay.
And you can't smoke or drink anything like that looks adults over the age of 21. That's pretty much the main rules. Cussing's okay.
Okay. So yeah, I've spent a lot of money on a lot of stuff, and it just, as the business grew, I just needed to grow with it, because I really wasn't expecting it to be. I was hoping that if I could, so here's just early on. So I buy all this equipment, I start testing, I get it working. I only have a handful of genes that I could test for that are public knowledge, public information.
Okay.
And I'm testing them for myself and a couple of friends that I know here in New York. So they were sending me sheds, and I was just messing around. And then all of a sudden, another company comes out, and they're like, Charlie, you see this company's offering shed testing? I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't know anybody else was even thinking of this. So they're like, you should offer it. And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, just do it. And I was like, whatever. So I made a website real quick on Square, and I started getting a little bit of business. And I was like, wow, if I could run like 8 to 10 tests a week, I could pay back all this equipment in a few months. This would be great. And 8 to 10 tests a week turned to, 100 a day sometimes now.
Wow.
So it happened very quick. It's well, no, I shouldn't say very quick. The first year, it slowly gained traction. Then all of a sudden, probably 8-9 months ago, maybe a year ago, it just went insane. And luckily, I hired an employee right before it got crazy, right before the business really took off. Otherwise, I would have been screwed. I probably wouldn't have a business right now because I wouldn't have been able to handle it. But luckily, I found somebody really awesome locally, and she is great. And, she learned very quick, and she comes here during the day to my lab while I'm at my day job.
Gotcha.
And helps me out a lot. So, I needed that. If I didn't, then I definitely wouldn't have the business I have right now.
Isn't it wild how sometimes things work out? You kind of like put one foot in front of the other. You're like, man, I got this in my gut, and this is a chance to do it. And might break. This might be a terrible financial decision, but in my heart and my head, and support with your partner and stuff at home and all that, this feels like the right decision. And sometimes you just have to go for it. And here's a great example of it. That's really interesting. I mean, now you're a keeper yourself, right? You have animals, right? Now, are you near your animals? Do you have any with you nearby that you could share with us?
So
maybe?
this is the room I'm in here is my lab. And I built this building that is about 102 feet from my house. And, I built it as a workshop for my previous business. I taught myself how to build CNC machines. So I built CNC lasers, CNC plasma cutters, CNC routers. And then I wound up starting a pretty successful Etsy business selling things like that. Like I made this hat. And this was where my router was, where I
You
was
still sell those hats? I would sport one. We got a lot of a lot of shed testing fans that I know of, man. A lot of people. I think I don't. I'm not going to promote anybody else, but I think a lot of people prefer you from a more personable, a more engageable type of a personality, and I think a lot of people. I think you have a lot of personal fans that prefer you because resources and community is everything. And I mean, I'd buy a hat. I'd get one.
Yeah, no, I mean, if people want anything, just let me know. I don't sell them, whatever. I'll give them out. But yeah, I mean, there's merch on my website, shedtesting.com. People could order stuff on there. It's all drop ship stuff. So when I first started, I bought a ton of like t-shirts, and it's just a pain trying to have that on hand because you never have the right size somebody wants, or you get stuck with a ton of smalls or a ton of, well, you never, in this industry, you don't get stuck with a lot of double XLs. They're usually the first ones that go. But, it's, so yeah, if anybody wants anything, go to shedtesting.com and there's a merchandise section. But if any custom stuff, just let me know. It's fun. When I have time, I like to still mess around with stuff. I still have my laser and my router. I got rid of the plasma cutter because it was just too much. And so this building, what I was getting to, I built. It was just a concrete slab, a spray foamed interior, and just a big open. I forget how big it is, but and then I made the snake room because I was like, you know what? I don't need all this space for the workshop. I want to get some snakes, and so I built the whole room for the snakes, and the workshop was here where I'm sitting now. And then when the shed testing took off, I was in my basement. I have a finished basement in my house, so I have a couple rooms in this basement. I was using these rooms as my labs, and then it just got way too much, and I needed something. So I converted the workshop into the lab that we're in now, and there's a door. So I could go in. Well, first, actually, you're not going to be able to see it. You're sleeping, but I have a green tree monitor in there. It's actually a BIAC green tree monitor, cadensis. And I don't know if you can see that, carpet.
Oh, yeah.
That's growing a bunch since I saw the photo on your IG.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's really good. And then I have a little super dwarf retic right there. And then I have my small, I just bought this couple levels for the smaller ones, and the bigger ones got my sheds hanging. But yeah, we could take something out here. What do we want to see?
If it helps you at all, you are able to flip your camera to the front side. You just tap yourself once. It brings up a floating box, then there's a little camera with the swirls around it. That simply just switches from one side. There you go. If it helps you.
Yep. Yeah. So I got this girl right here. She's been locking up. She's pairing. That's a leopard pied het desert ghost female.
Strong, bold markings. I like that.
Yeah, very cool.
No questions about where the edges are. Yep. No muddled colors, just boldness. I like that in the saddles.
Awesome. Go ahead. Oh, where you going? Don't go up there. Don't go up there.
Into a different dark area that I think is better, but it's totally not better for me.
No, definitely not better.
She thinks so.
Clown hypo in there, male.
Thanks for the follow, Diamond.
Let's see. There's a little desert ghost pinstripe het VPI exanthic girl.
Ooh, now the pinstripe really, I'm not a huge fan, but that makes me a convert right there. That is awesome.
So that is a Bongo GHI clown female I produced this year.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Bongo GHI clown. Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah. What else we got? This one's cool.
That is awesome. What up, Bosa?
Always ready to eat.
Y'all bring some questions. Keep them coming. We'll do.
We've got some more
we'll
questions
answer them
on
as
mine
they go.
soon, but that was Jason's fault for not being here. He said he's getting some that were hets that were showing to be heterozygous, and so they're working out why that's showing that way. But monsoon is coming; it's getting closer. And on the TSK Xanthic test, how's that looking for your future?
TSK, I believe I have the test. I have to validate it, but I think we found it. And the main issue I have is, like I said before, time.
Yeah.
The sheds I thought were slowing down the test, but they're not. It's just been
Daniel.
absolutely crazy.
Let me ask you this then on that note, because I have bought a pod het black xanthic. Would that be a shed you could potentially work with?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is a pastel OD leopard desert ghost clown het pied female.
Nice.
So we're getting a lot of questions. Let's try to catch up on questions so we don't let people feel left out. Well, I don't want you to stop what you're doing, Charlie. I'm just letting you guys know.
No, you just keep going. I'm writing down it as they come in, Phil.
Any luck on a paint test? How are things looking for paint? And the other one is what are all the things, or what other things can you tell from a snake shed?
Yes.
So this is a paint right here. So I am now vested in getting a paint test. Because I got my paint het hypo male right there. But yes, I am pretty confident I have a paint test as well. What first round of validation went okay, but I think I found a better spot, which should be the actual mutation. And I just got the primers from them the other day, so I will be starting to validate paint very soon.
Oh, nice. And I'm kind of getting the gist. You have, I think I counted 32 or 36 tests right now on your website. Is that right?
Sounds about right.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through the list and looked at what was available, and I feel like I'm gonna just say I'm not picking on anybody, but I feel like we, myself included, could all just constantly pepper you with what about that test, that test.
Oh yeah.
Where's the end? Where's the end of the tunnel, man? Like there is no end, is there?
There is for a little while, I think. I don't think I'm going to go to the end of the earth with the ball python stuff. You know, I'm going to get everything that people really want and tests that will actually help pay for themselves.
Hey, thanks for hitting that goal, guys. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Mandarin. What about Mandarin? There's the questions about, do you have the true NR Mandarin line, or do you have some junk Mandarin that's just kind of a brassy cinnamon? Are you being snookered as a customer when you buy the wrong version of Mandarin from the wrong person? What do you think about Mandarin?
Good question.
I literally yesterday went through and tried to find some more Super Mandarin sheds. I thought I had more. Celtic sent me a bunch, so that helped. And so the way we develop these tests is we like to get the homozygous versions. So
visuals, right?
Yes. So either if it's for albino, it's going to be a visual albino, not a head albino. But for the codoms, we want the super form. So I send out a bunch of those sheds to a lab, and they sequence all of these sheds, and then we get all this data back, and then a bioinformatician takes all that data and compares that data to our normal pool of ball pythons to see the variance, the differences between the two pools. So if we're using supers, it makes it a lot easier to find the actual mutation and not just a marker that might work for a lot of the animals, but might not work for everything. So I try not to, I really don't want to have any more stress in my life than I already do.
Right.
And the biggest fear I have is somebody coming to me saying, "Hey, I know for sure that this is, Mandarin. It came from Mandarin." I don't want that. I don't want to deal with that. So if it takes me a little longer to come out with a test, it'll take me a little longer to come out with a test. I don't care. But I want to make sure I get it right.
That's, I think, the biggest thing. No matter how much people clamor from your end of it, if we were in your shoes, is accuracy and reputation. You know, if you've got a bunch of false positives and things, then that just kind of tanks the reputation, and then the amount of business falls off. So I think that's a really smart mindset, because what you're dealing with is people's, you know, not only their hopes and dreams, but frankly their finances and what they're trying to buy and get into. So you better be damn sure, you know, from your standpoint. And I totally respect that. I think it's very admirable.
There's going to be mistakes, and if there are mistakes, I want them to be human mistakes, not from the test's standpoint.
Sure.
I want it to be either you sent me a wrong shed, or I put the wrong shed in the wrong tube, or I marked something down wrong. Those errors I can control, but I also know that they're going to happen. When you're testing thousands and thousands of sheds, it's going to happen. I do my best. We have multiple lines of, you know, so between my employee and I, even though she runs a lot of the tests now, I double and triple check everything. You know, nobody will ever get a result directly from her or directly from me. Our eyes are we're both looking at it. So we try to really make sure of that, because that could happen, and it's probably going to happen. And I don't want it to, but I'm preparing for it because it's just bound to happen. But you do your absolute best to make sure that it doesn't happen. And that's the last thing I want to do. That's the biggest anxiety I get throughout my day, is if I'm going to give out a bad result. I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, and I can only imagine the stress between having a full-time job and then doing this, and then that expectations being on you. That's got to be a lot of expectations, aside from having your own personal life, you know, a young one, a wife, and a house to run, your own animals. Mm-hmm. You've got your hands full, absolutely. How long ago did you say all this? You said 4 or 5 months ago it really snowballed? And how long ago?
It probably about, I mean, I've been doing it for over 2 years now, shed testing. But I would say the first few months of it were slow. But it was good. It was fine, you know, because I have a full-time job and I was still learning. So it's not like, you know, I was ready for it to be what it is right now. Probably like 8-9 months ago to a year ago, it really took off. And this breeding season, this hatchling season was just intense. Like, my employee was supposed to be a part-time employee. A few days a week, she was going to come, and, you know, when we had enough for her to run, and sometimes she's here 7 days a week.
Dang! Wow!
Yeah, a lot of times she's been here 7 days a week.
Wow, it's crazy.
So, you know, I still, and the thing is, I wasn't running it like a real business in the beginning, because it was a hobby, and, you know, just trying to catch up on things that I should have done in the beginning, and financial stuff, you know, and just, you know, making sure I'm spending money the right way, and, you know, pricing, and I trade for snakes a lot. I got to stop doing that, because, like, I have some amazing animals, but, you know, eventually I got to start making some money off of this, because I'm getting, you know, no sleep and I'm exhausted. But,
right. Oh, man.
We had a question. Are you working on the Zawadi test?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you with your analytic background, do you have a request on your, maybe I didn't notice on your website, do you take the numbers of, oh, I only have 2 requests for Zawadi, but I have 10,000 for Mandarin, so Mandarin it is. Like, how do you decide to where you put your resources?
I'm so out there, you know, I know what people want.
Okay.
You know, people tell me. They find a way to tell me. I get
requests. You've been talking to everybody across the whole industry. Yeah.
I get requests every day. When are you coming up with this? When are you going to do that? When are you going to do this? I have to make those decisions based on what is worth it for me to get, what is needed. Like lace, that is needed. And I'm pretty confident I have the lace test right now. That's another one that I'm going to be running a bunch of tests this weekend to confirm it. Mandarin, that's something that people need. and then obviously the recessives, but recessives that are popular right now. I don't, one, because I need sheds from a diverse group of people. It's not great to get all, say, Zawadi. Zawadi, is that a recessive or dominant? I think it's a dominant gene, but so super Zawadis, if it is. But if you and your buddy are the only two that have them, it's going to take more than that for me to want to develop the test because it's going to take a lot of work on the back end to figure out where this gene is. If I only have a handful of homozygous versions of Zawadi from two different people. Lace, I was able to get white lace, aka super lace, homozygous lace. I was able to get a decent amount of them from a decent amount of breeders. So that I got pretty quick. That test came about pretty fast.
Yeah, I was looking at white lace clowns last night. Holy shit! There's only two males on the market on the morph market, and they were like 55 and $6,500, well out of my wheelhouse.
I should be getting them delivered next week. We believe it's a white lace, orange dream, yellow belly clown female.
Nice.
Nah, that's gonna be nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Do you have what is your opinion on the versions of Desert Ghost? There's been some conversations we've had with people and friends and peers that like there were different ones, but they all got blended together and they were able to be bred together. So now it's too watered down to tell. What's your thoughts on the ABCD versions of Desert Ghost?
Well, RGI came out and said that, afterwards, the fact that there is no ABC. So right now they're testing for one mutation, I believe, of Desert Ghost. And I believe it's the same mutation that I'm testing for, same mutation that Canada's testing for, same mutation that the testers in Europe are testing for. A and B appear to have been markers for Desert Ghost in the beginning. I don't know the ins and outs of it. It's just from what I've talked to them about here and there a little bit, and what they have said on their own YouTube. So I don't know 100% exactly what they were, but right now we believe that there is only one testable line of Desert Ghost right now.
Okay. I agree with that. I just wanted your thoughts because you're clearly much more intelligent about the subject. That's why we have people like yourself on. And like we always say, Dredd, we know enough to know we don't know shit, and so we have people.
That's right. We don't know anything at all.
With everybody. We just happen to know a little bit to maybe ask good questions, but there's always more to learn every single day, and that's the fun part of the show. So
yeah, definitely. And I still learn every day. Like every single day, I'm learning something new. And the best thing is I've made a lot of contacts in not necessarily the ball python industry, but the science industry. And all these companies that I buy these expensive pieces of equipment from, and companies that I buy reagents from, and I get on calls with them and Zoom calls or whatever with them and have meetings, and they're like, wait, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm testing ball pythons. They're like, what? And they all think it's fascinating, and they want to continue to talk to me. And, a lot of people let me bounce things off of them just because it's like, wow, that's interesting. So you're not a doctor, you're not a scientist. You figured this out, and now you're extracting DNA from ball pythons and testing it. Yeah,
right.
And they're like, "That's awesome. What do you need help with?"
That's so cool.
I didn't think it was going to be like that. I thought everybody, all the science people and all the doctors and stuff like that, were going to be like, "Who the hell is this guy? Think he is doing this?" But it's been quite the opposite. I've gotten a lot of support from the community, the scientific community, and it's been amazing.
I think I am having a cube for my green tree python delivered. I think I just heard the door.
Is that him?
I think he's here. He said 7:30. Looks like he's on time. That's a good sign.
Do your thing.
Just a minute. And I know people have been asking, what else can you test for?
Yeah, we'll run with it.
Give me 1 second here if I can.
I just want you to bring the green tree back with you, holding that thing.
It's a captive hatch, wild parent, undocumented Biak. That thing would light me up 17 times.
Bring it out. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, bring it out. Bring it out.
I'll bring you my little designer. That's really.
No, we want the Biak. We want the biatch out.
That's
That's who's
right.
going in this cube. It's a
Give it
big
a
one.
kiss.
Shoot. All right, I'll give you just a sec, guys.
Well, Phil's a lot better at this navigating and hosting the lives than I am, but we'll get with it. So
I see we
someone
got
was
some.
asking, we'll cover a couple of the genes. Someone was asking about talk about Barnhart black pastel, maybe compared to just the Barnhart lines versus other lines. Maybe you can kind of clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, so right now it's been discovered that there are a minimum of two, most likely three or four testable lines of black pastel type genes. Barnhart has tested differently than the normal that we've seen. There's also another line that we're looking for still that's more prevalent in Canada. And it's just, there's mutations. There's so many different mutations, and there's different lines of things. And sometimes a line is a testable line, or sometimes it's just, you know, a line you could call like, oh, I've been breeding, paint for 20 years, and this is my line of paint. But it's testing the same as every other one. It's just that I've held back the best ones, and
right, more kind of like line breeding.
that's all that is.
Yeah,
But
line breeding. Okay.
then we got the testable lines. So some that look different. I think Barnhart Black Pastel looks a lot different than regular Black Pastel. But then there's Ultramel A and B. I would say I've only had a handful of Ultramel Bs ever come through my lab. Most of them are A, but there have been some, and there are some breeders that basically work with Ultramel B.
Ultramel B.
But they look exactly the same. They do exactly the same. And if you breed an A to a B, you get a het A, het B, but it's visual. So it's like an allelic thing, but they look exactly alike.
Okay. I hadn't heard that one yet. Okay.
Yellow belly is the same. There's two lines of yellow belly. Look identical, do the same thing. Breed the two lines together, you're still going to get a white snake.
Right.
But yeah, so that's how it's just a different location of the mutation. That's it. And if it's close enough or in the same area, they could be allelic with each other. Sometimes, you get two genes that look a lot alike that aren't allelic with each other.
Dude, that's crazy. Okay. So we also had questions too. Is what's Celtic saying? Is that Kiki?
Kike.
Kike.
Bosa.
So we get this too a lot sometimes when we do the. Okay, there you go, Jen. That's a good one. Jen's got a lot of questions. Mystic Phantom.
Same thing.
Same. They're working on the same. Okay. Yeah, we get that a lot when we do our hangouts, and everybody's asking, well, these two are the same, and sometimes they may not be the same. Okay.
Yep, they test the same.
But they test the same. All right. Guys,
so
drink coming.
With I don't know if anybody in here is in the zebra project, but so I have a zebra test now, and there was always the zebra Mackenzie debate. Is Mackenzie the same as zebra? Are they the same thing? So I got a bunch of visual zebra sheds. I sequenced them. I found the location of the zebra mutation. I designed the test, and I have a test for zebra. I tested that against a handful of Mackenzies, super Mackenzies, and they didn't test the same. So people now are like, oh, it's different. They test different. I can't tell you for sure if it's, like I said, Ultramel A and B. They're different. They test different, but they're the same. They work together. So until I sequence a bunch of super Mackenzies, I can't tell you if they just test differently. That's all I could say.
Right. You have to have a track record of keep stacking or whatever you need to do to know. And this could take, like you say, thousands of tests or whatever it is. And then you could see something weird come up. What is that? That's a different marker, a different indicator.
And then
Now you got to figure out where that's coming from.
And then
right?
you never know if somebody bought something as a Mackenzie, it was actually a zebra, but they didn't realize it, or it was a het zebra. The person selling it didn't know, or the opposite, other way around. And then when somebody sends me the shed, it's like, oh, this hasn't happened yet, but I'm just saying this is something that could happen. You send me something, and I say, yeah, this tested het for zebra. And they're like, well, this is a Mackenzie. You can't. Is it a Mackenzie or is it a zebra?
And that's
I don't know. So those are things we're just going to have to see as time.
Yeah, and then their jaws drop and go, "That's not what I bought."
Right. But you know, I had to test for months before I released it because it was something that I wanted to make sure that I tested enough of before I released it because I knew that there was a lot of people hoping that they were either the same or hoping that they were different. So I waited until I got a lot of different zebra samples from all over the country and tested them as many as I could before I actually released the test.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's definitely different things that could happen.
So let's ask you this. This will be a good one. What would be, and you probably already answered it. What would be one of the hardest ones you've tested or had the most difficulty yet trying to figure out?
That's easy. Monsoon.
Monsoon is still that one. Okay, so there's your 90% or where you're at. Okay. That's one basement's waiting for. I know a lot of people are the monsoon.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting there.
Well, I had, like I said, RGI and myself, we agreed that we were going to work on that together because it's such a pain in the butt. So I found a mutation. I tested a bunch here. I tested about 30 or 40. It was 100% accurate. Then RGI tested a bunch because they had a lot. And they had one that was a het that came back visual. Then I wound up getting a het that came back visual. And then I had a supposed, like, because we do a lot of negative controls. So even though we want to test to make sure it's calling a monsoon, I want to make sure it's calling non-monsoons.
Okay.
So, I just grab sheds that don't say monsoon on them and I test them. I had one that didn't say monsoon on it that came back het. Talked to the breeder. He said, I don't think it should be het, but you never know. So that's the one issue we've had really with it. But it's been about, I think we're at 97 to 99%, I would say, accuracy rate so far.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had two 66% hets. Well, I had two 66% het monsoon girls myself that I've been raising. One of them tested het, one of them tested negative. I'm not breeding the negative. I trust it, but I'm not going to sell them. I'm not going to offer it to the public. And if people have sheds they need to test for it or they want to check something they have in their, collection, I'm fine doing that. But you can't sell the snake based on it. You can't, So because they go not happening until we really knock this thing down.
Until you really got it narrowed down to that is exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. Okay, before you put it out to the universe. Okay, cool. Reptile Pit. Any new genes that you potentially be working with? Maybe that you haven't had. This would be a good one. Something that nobody's asked about, right? Maybe there's some stuff over in the UK that might be making it this direction you may potentially want to work with. I don't know. You get that, or is it just a typical Wadi zebra?
I'll let Mills send me a bunch of homozygous versions of some genes over there. And
yeah, we know what he's got. Yeah, definitely. Mills, send some sheds. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after I get a few more, I think ball python genes down. Right now, we are working on a sex test for everything. So we're doing a pretty big project right now, myself and another scientist in Europe. And we are trying to get all pythons, all boas, monitor lizards, and geckos. That's our next big thing that we're trying to do right now.
Okay. No, that's good. I was going to ask that too. How are you branching out for other reptiles and the shed testing and things like that? Because the way the morphs and what's came out, over the past few years, it's a lot to keep up with, and a lot of new things have shown up.
We could do ball pythons forever if we want.
Yeah, it's right.
I want to get some other things, not even just because it's fun. I don't know. I want to see if I can do it.
So how many sheds? So that's a good question, Pesky. So how many sheds do you need for a test, or can that vary?
Well, technically, all you need is one. But it just gives you a lot more work.
But to confirm an accuracy, though,
Like to confirm the test is correct.
yes, they say that.
We like to try to say like around 100. 100 accurate, 100% accurate before we say it. You get a good feeling as you're doing it, especially when you're testing negative. All the heads are coming back. And that's when you just got to really hammer it out and test a bunch of them.
Okay.
It works. But to develop a test, technically all you need is one. But I like to do a minimum of 10, 15, 20 or plus, 20 more is better. Like lace, I think I only had about 16 or 17 white lace sheds. Paint, I had about 19. What was that with sheds?
Not really, because everything's paired
If
up.
I could get 20 plus, that's a home run.
There you go, guys. Send him 20 plus sheds or something. Let's get him going when he's ready.
Homozygous versions. You can send them.
Okay.
I have bins and bins of sheds that I don't throw out for genes that, when I'm testing them and going through. I used to keep every shed because just in case people wanted something tested, it's just getting way too out of hand right now. If you tested something with me months and months ago, then you could wait till it sheds again.
Okay.
I just can't. I don't have the time to dig through everything to find your one shed out of thousands. But I put things aside when I come. So things that I know I'm going to need in the future, they get put aside.
So this is another question. How would you preserve a shed? Like you keep one, say I send one to you, I got my snake, I've got it however you want me to, dry it out, seal it up in a bag or whatever, send it to you. You want to keep that shed maybe for potential, like you're saying, in the future, you might have to go back to something. How do you preserve that to keep it good?
As long as the shed is dried out before it gets sent to me, it lasts a long time. I've had sheds well over a year that I've used as control samples, and they work perfect.
Okay.
The biggest thing is when your snake sheds, try to get it out as soon as you can. So if you see it's in blue, check on it now until it sheds every day. And once it sheds, pull that shed out.
Get out of the truck real quick, man.
Unroll it, stretch it out, hang it up like I had it. I usually use a magnet and hang it to right by the tub that snake did. Let it hang for a couple days. Let it dry, nice and crunchy.
Crispy, yeah.
And then, so these are the best, these little envelopes, because they allow it to breathe. So if you put a shed in here and it's a little bit damp or something, its odds are it should still be all right. But if you put it in a Ziploc bag, it's just going to hold all that moisture in and it's going to destroy everything.
See, that's good info right there, your envelope. That is good right there, guys. See that? If you send a shed, get your little envelope.
Little coin envelopes, they're a dirt cheap on Amazon.
Yeah, you can probably get them at the dollar stores too on the low. So
literally, I think there might be like a penny a piece or something.
Yeah, get you some of them, guys. Okay, that's good advice. That's good information. Mm-hmm. All right, what do we got coming in, guys? Any other questions? I'll come up with something else. So you're compiling your databases. I know you guys are sharing. I don't know if you think there wouldn't be a central database. This would just be something you guys share amongst you between who's doing testing, overseas, here, Canada, with you guys communicate.
So
you get something that someone else don't have, or you're seeing something that maybe someone else hasn't seen.
So myself and the shed tester in Europe, we share everything now because we're not competition. It makes us more efficient if instead of both of us working on the same thing, let's work on different things. Let's work on them together. It'll save us time. It'll save us money. And then validation wise, it helps because now he's getting a whole different crop of sheds from Europe and the UK that I'm getting here.
Right.
So, and he's a doctor. He's a scientist. He's a great guy. It's Pro Herper. He's awesome. And we basically share everything now.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, you got to have a team for sure. That's very good. What do we got here? Yeah, Jen, I could throw you in a. Jen, ask them what to say. T5's asking. This is actually a good question. So, if someone's wanting to send you sheds, say like you want to get into testing boas, something like that, what would you need from them, and what information would you need from them to
So
receive a shed, maybe of some boa gene that you haven't, you know?
yeah, so I have no BOA tests right now. So the biggest thing is, even if I had 500 samples of BOA sheds, I have to get a genome made to map them. I have to map the BOA genome. I don't believe there's a publicly available, good enough BOA genome available to use. Would have to then pay a lab a lot of money to design a genome to start doing the BOAs.
Okay.
Unless there is, I haven't really looked into it. I have to check and see if there is a BOA genome out there available for public access. But if there's anything that you're interested in, so like retics, if anybody has like any pied retics, albinos, anything like that, send me those sheds because I'm working on retics right now. Hopefully, I'm not working on them at this moment, but I've been researching it, and I think we could get a few tests, done. But
we're gonna bring Mills up for a minute, if you don't mind. This will probably be a good point to do something different.
not Mills.
Yeah.
Hey Charlie, how you doing? How you guys doing? Hey,
Welcome,
Dre.
Mills. Thank you for hanging with us and bringing some knowledge and questions.
You're not sleeping, buddy?
He never
Hey, I never
sleeps.
sleep. There you go, Dread knows it.
Hey, that's
Dread's
my
up
buddy
as
right
much
there.
as
We
I
don't
am,
ever
you know.
sleep. You got to change them Energizer batteries 3 or 4 times a day.
I don't know about batteries. Batteries not included.
Right?
How you guys doing? You good?
We're good, buddy. How are you this evening?
Yeah, still alive somehow, some way.
We love it. We love it. Yeah, at least we're standing on 2 feet. Well, what do you got for us? What kind of questions are you bringing?
Hey, first of all, Charlie, thank you so much for putting in the hard work and everything that you do. I know it's so difficult and so technical with what you do, and people don't really appreciate how intense and hard it must be to understand what you're doing, so I gotta personally thank you for that,
I appreciate it. I mean, it is stressful. It is a lot to learn, and to do it well is a lot to learn. And there's a lot of times where you're just so stressed out and you don't want to deal with it. And then, you get someone like you or somebody else that's like, hey, thank you so much for doing this, or thanks for getting me those results so quick, or, this is awesome, thank you. Or even the people that when I give them negative results, like, awesome, thank you so much. I'm like, I just gave you negative results. They're like, yeah, but now I know not to breed that snake.
Right.
That's great. I love hearing that, and that's what keeps me going. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who's been supportive of me. There's been so many people that took a chance using me in the beginning. Some idiot in his house doing this, and I really appreciate all those people that been there since day one that have like really pushed me to keep going, and especially times where I'm like, maybe I'll just coast a little bit. They're like, nah, keep going, and so it definitely helps.
So we're getting some stuff on. Oh, sorry, Mills. Go ahead, buddy.
Sorry, after you, bud. After you, Dre.
Well, they're asking about the retics again. Would you be able to tell localities?
So this came up with myself and counterpart in Europe a couple days ago, and
well, there is, but
there is a way, but it's not going to be the way that people want. So you're not going to be able to send me your shed, and I'm going to be like, yeah, this is 50% Calico, 25% Coyote, 25% Japan. It's just not going to happen. It's just too difficult to want to do that.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe in the future, years down the line, it might be something that could be done. But right now, it's just not. It's not there. I spoke to a very large super dwarf breeder here in the States, and he said just try to stick with the retics, because people should buy super dwarfs from trusted breeders. Don't buy a super dwarf from me, because it's too easy to get scammed and wind up with a 20-foot. But if I could help good breeders get these mutations and these morphs into smaller sizes quicker, everybody's going to benefit from that. The snakes will benefit. That way, we're not having people, because retics are beautiful. Mainland retics, you go see a breeder with a whole selection of these amazing mutations. That are beautiful. Not everybody, most people shouldn't have them. So like my retic is almost 3 years old now. He is tiny. He's 100% super dwarf, and he is completely manageable for anybody who has a big ball python.
Yeah. That's so what Smoky Mountain Mutations was explaining to us on live with him with the super dwarfs and how he keeps it. He works with just a small number of them for more quality versus quantity, so he can keep those good genetics and keep that look there and know what he's got versus getting big and not knowing. Like you're saying, keep it minimal to keep so you're going to have a super dwarf versus something's going to get 20 feet.
And a 50% super dwarf, you could still get a very big snake. There is no guarantee that you're going to get something tiny. So you want the percentages as high as you possibly can. But I love them. They're awesome. So it's definitely something I want to work towards to help the retic community. Because like I said, there's no need to have all these mainlands getting bred
right.
Or the homes that should have them.
Yeah. A friend of mine has a rescue up in Nevada. She comes to. She that's mostly what she takes in. She took in 6 just this week.
Right. And some people can. If they're not for everybody, but there are some people that are amazing mainland retic keepers out there.
Right.
And those people do great, just like venomous. Most people should never have a venomous snake, but there are some amazing venomous keepers out there.
Right.
You just gotta really,
I think I can try and get some stuff from the actual mainlands to maybe get the pure breeds from the actual islands, maybe to help understand it. I think there's so much to do with all the shed testing out there. There's a magnitude of stuff to actually understand with the genetics of snakes. Do you think there's going to be an easier way to actually calculate everything? Is there going to be some type of way to actually put it across board and like we had blood samples for genetics? Do you think there's going to be a way to do DNA testing or anything like that, or is it just going to be through the sheds?
So I've tested. Sheds are one of the worst things to get DNA from. It's just a lot of times they'll do runs and you have to do reruns, or the shed is bad and you need a new shed because it was just wet for too long or for whatever reason. But I've done blood samples, I've done eggshells, I've done scale clippings, I've done mouth swabs. There's a lot of different ways. Sheds are just the easiest and the easiest for you. You just grab them, dry them out, and send them. Scale clippings aren't difficult for you, but they work very good. Mouth swabs don't work great unless I get them very quick and I test it very quick because that DNA degrades pretty quick. So if I'm testing my own snakes, a lot of times I'll just go in there and swab a snake and test it. I've tested swabs from people that have sent them in and them won't work, half of them won't. So I don't even accept them anymore just because it's a waste of time. Especially now with the scale clippings, you take like a little fingernail, like a clipping pretty much, off of the belly scale. It doesn't harm the snake and, they work great. But I've had somebody give me blood from an egg. I've had somebody, they cut their eggs, just send me the little sliver that they cut off. And I've tested those.
And did it work?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it worked great.
Really? Okay.
Wow. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're
I
not
literally
actually
tested somebody's snakes and gave them results before the snake came out of the egg.
so from what everyone thinks that you're testing the sheds. Like they think you're putting the sheds under microscope, but you're not. You're actually testing the DNA of the shed, and that's what people need to understand. That it's much more enhanced than what people think it is. And by the way, if you don't mind me announcing, Charlie, that we're gonna have this going on in the UK, and we're gonna take it worldwide with yourself as well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to announce that I'm partnering up with you around the world. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, Charlie.
Yeah, hopefully we could get, testing done for everybody, because that's the thing. There's so many breeders all over the world that don't have access to it. And if they do, it could take forever. The process of getting sheds across the borders, it's difficult. And, there's certain steps and certain ways you have to do it legally. So we're going to get that done.
So no, you guys you're making this accessible for everyone.
We're doing it legally.
However it needs to go.
We're going to do it legally worldwide.
Yes.
It's absolutely going to be done 100% legally, unlike some of the other people that are doing it.
Yes.
That, they're sending in stuff illegally. We're doing it 100% legally with Charlie, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. It's really exciting to be working with such a professional guy like Charlie. I'm really, really hepped up about it, really excited,
Oh, yeah, this is exciting. Phil, you missed out on some good knowledge. Too bad we're not going to do a replay.
It's okay. It's recorded. I can go back. We'll find the highlights. Sorry, I just moved 3 pet quality ball pythons that were 700 grams to 2,500 grams. I needed out of my hair.
So he did it.
For 2 chondro cubes. I have 2 2-foot by 2-foot by 2-foot chondro cubes now. Look at that.
What? Look at that, Carly. He needs more green trees.
I need one.
I just trade. Oh, okay. So I spent 150 bucks. I gave him 150 bucks, and I traded 3 ball pythons that I had no traction on selling. I don't have to ship them in the cold this time of year, and I have space in my rack, and I got 2 chondro cubes for the future, and I already have the heat panels, thermostat, and branches. Ah!
Rocking it, Sir Philip.
So Carly asked, where is it illegal? So genetics work isn't necessarily illegal, but you have to send the sheds a certain way over country lines. It's pretty much, they make it almost like you're sending a live animal.
Yeah.
Really? It's just a shed. Wow.
Yeah, no.
I can send you a leather purse, right? And
that's what I'm saying. I can send you a dadgum postcard with it.
Well,
so CITES want to monitor everything, right? So it's the same, like even with seeds, you cannot send seeds across places. So everything's got to be monitored to be done correctly. Yeah. So like CITES will come down on that. If you're not sending things in the right way, then it's not legal, but I figured out a way, and I've been talking to the government departments to make it like real airtight. So we're going to be sending sheds out on a monthly basis. It's going to be good.
Yeah, like Carly says, it's crafting material. We ordered it from Michael's.
Yeah, I mean, you could send it. You could send it, and odds are it's going to get there fine. But it's not legal to do it.
But if something came about and they wanted to run with it, then
and even like you said, seeds. Like I remember a couple of years ago, me and my wife went to Europe, a bunch of different countries, and we were in Amsterdam. And what kind of plants are they famous for? Some type of like bulb.
Yeah.
And in the store,
they're tulips.
Tulips, yes. So in the store, they had some that were legal to take across, country lines. So they had them on there that said these ones you could bring. You can't bring these, but you could bring these. So I guess they're either vetted or what, but there are certain, laws. You can't just bring seeds or vegetables. Like if you ever come back.
I'm aware of the seed thing. That can be very difficult because some of the seeds that I've bought, we won't say. The happy kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not allowed. Like,
Yeah. You have to get those the right way so as you don't.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna do it properly. That's the point of it. You know, like
Okay.
I've got the authorization to send them to Charlie. I've actually sat there and got the documentation here in front of me now that we can send it legally and authorized through the government bodies to Charlie every month. That's hard, you know.
Yeah, it's awesome that you've got that all figured out. And that's the thing. Like a lot of people ask, and I'm like, I just don't have the contacts and the connections to, sites like that. And, so it's definitely going to be beneficial for a lot of people in different countries.
This is awesome. I guess you didn't know, Charlie, that we roll thick with Mills, huh?
No, I didn't.
And that's so
we
cool.
have been knighted into the Mills Reptile Pit family, Sir Philip and Duke Dread. So
So you guys got a bunch of Bambinos sent to you from him, I'm guessing.
No,
Oh no,
no,
oh, Mills, you said you
No
sent it
Bambino.
everybody that brought you on their show, Bambinos. I thought.
he
You
shows
gonna
us the Bambinos. and
Bambino
teases
for me,
it.
baby. Like, can we do
He
a shit
teases
test
us
for
with
Bambinos?
that, but he let the cat out of the bag about a month ago that I'll be getting the Maasai. So
He's the first person on the planet to get the Maasai. So, Sir Philip is the first person in the world to get the Maasai, and the Maasai is compatible with Ultramel, and it's going to be interesting to see what new genes I have here that are going to be compatible with other genes. Like the genetic coding of the animals is so fascinating to me. You know, that's what really ticks my boat. Like figuring out new genes, new alleles, new things that work together. It's a science in itself, and I find that scientific element really fascinating. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's. I think the genetic testing not only helping people out is it has brought a lot more education to the whole community about what is actually going on and like the proper way to say things. Like when I tell somebody, yeah, their snake is het yellow belly, they're like, what do you mean? Well, it's het yellow belly. It has one copy of the yellow belly mutation.
Yeah.
Homozygous yellow belly is your ivory.
Yeah.
So people are learning things that they wouldn't have known if blood testing didn't come about.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because
really,
it got mentioned to me about that someone was trying to explain that how yellow belly could be a het yellow belly, and I'm thinking it's just got to be terminology, the way he's identifying it. So you probably just explained it right there.
Yeah, people ask like, "Hey, can you tell me if it's a super chocolate?" I say yes. Every test I have, there's one of three responses you're going to get from me. It's going to be negative for chocolate, it's going to be heterozygous for chocolate, or it's going to be homozygous for chocolate. Homozygous just means it's a super chocolate. Heterozygous means it's a regular single copy chocolate, and negative is 0. So it's the same thing with a recessive. So if piebald, it's het piebald, that means it has one copy. It just so happens that recessives you don't see in the heterozygous form. Another thing that a lot of people talk about, myself and a few other people, is that we don't believe that there are that many true recessives in pythons. Piebald, if it has a ringer or zebra, you could tell a het zebra a lot of times.
Yeah.
If you can tell something's het, odds are it's not a true recessive.
D-stripe, zebra, like there's so many combos that you can just tell that the het's in there.
Right.
And like, does that mean it's recessive, or does that mean it's co-dom? Like, they act like the same way.
Right.
And,
and that's what people are like.
That's so interesting about things. Like, people don't understand. Like, is every co-dom a recessive, or is every recessive a co-dom? You know, like,
Right.
yeah, is it our eyes playing tricks, or is it really like how it is? Like as you said with pides, you know, you have the tram lines down the tail, the ringer markings, and so on and so forth that are so expressive from one gene to another. Like I've got a new gene called the Predator coming out now, and like the pied, when you breed it to pied, you can see it shred. They actually look like pieds, not even like het pieds. It reacts in that
Like champagne,
expressive
a
way.
champagne het pied.
Yeah.
It's like a pie.
Damn. Yeah. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there. Yeah. And the
So,
Predator does the same thing. Yeah. Absolutely. Like
and when
straight.
people ask me like, "Oh, are you going to be able to tell if monsoon is recessive or this or that?" No, everything looks the same genetically the way we're doing it. Like it's either has one copy, two copies, or no copies of the mutation. That's it. I cannot tell if it's recessive. I cannot tell if it's a dominant gene. It's either one copy, two copies, or none. And then my response is, who cares? Because if you like the way homozygous monsoon looks, and I tell you that it's not a recessive, you you still want the homozygous version. You don't want the het version. It doesn't matter if something looks that much different and that much better in the homozygous version. That's what you're going for anyway. So it doesn't really matter, like if something's recessive or not. Because you still need the same thing. The odds are the same to hit a super chocolate as it is to hit a pieball.
Right.
Same exact. It's just as hard to get a super anything as it is to get a visual pieball, visual albino, visual desert ghost. It's all the same. You need two copies. Odds are the same.
The only difference is, right, Charlie, it's the mindset, right?
Right.
It's the mindset in people that don't able to like figure that out. Like a super is a super. No way you take it. Like a pied is really a super het, right? Like in real terms, right?
Right.
Like you still got that formation that comes through on a het pied,
Right.
but people don't see it in the same way. You know, like you can see it bleeding through.
Yeah. I mean, so it's all up, it's a mind game. People want to say they found a recessive instead of a dominant gene, but if that dominant gene, like banana, in the single gene banana, looks, you could tell that it's a banana because one copy does what you need. So yeah, that's going to lose value quicker. But something that is, like even lace or mandarin, a super mandarin or a super lace look a lot better than the single copy, so you're going to want that anyway. So that's going to not drop in price or value as quick as something like a banana, where one copy of banana is no doubt that it's a banana,
It's
Yeah,
just
and
a
super
visual
bananas
aesthetic.
don't necessarily take it to another visual level per se.
I don't like. Yeah, most people don't even like how super bananas look. It washes them out too much.
Agreed.
But the genetically wise, like it's different, right? Like because super bananas can produce males and females,
Right.
and mainly bananas just produce males. Like so, yeah. Like there's so many anomalies around genetics. Like people don't understand. Like in human beings, to produce a green-eyed child, it has to skip a generation. You have to have the DNA in there, and it skips a generation. And like, how weird is that? No.
Yeah.
So why don't we understand that there's so much behind the genetics and understanding about the DNA within reptiles that we take for granted too much, I suppose.
Yeah, and there's so many more anomalies than just your regular, recessive and dominant and hets and homozygous. And I'm not as versed in all that as some of the other scientists are, and so I love hearing there's new things that could happen. There's different ways that things could be made, and it's just like you just look at the sex link thing with the bananas. That's just who would have thought. That
That is so weird. Is there any other gene that sex link happens that we are aware of?
don't believe so.
Right. I
Yeah.
don't think so either. That is so weird. And there's other things like I've heard, and this is anecdotally, not as ironclad as what we just mentioned, but like people have neo hatchlings on lace ball pythons, and they're like they're mean, they're vicious, they're develop, maybe hard to get eating at first, but they're so defensive in their strikes, and they're just meaner than most of them. I've heard that. And then there's things like Super
Puzzles are like that.
GHI.
Like all my paints are nasty. Um,
Really?
I don't have any puzzle stuff, but I've heard the same thing with puzzles. Um, you know, is it true? I don't know. Or is it just maybe the couple of paints I have are just very good eaters? And they're not nasty where they're just vicious, but they're ready to eat, you know.
They're
But then
spicy.
and then you have the acid confusions that they say don't eat good. And I can tell you that I have an acid that eats amazing, and I have an acid that eats like crap. You know, um, So I've noticed
Dude, I
that
have a
too.
confusion that don't miss a meal.
Right.
Yeah,
I
I've
have
had like, I think it's generation thing. Like
Okay.
most of my confusions eat absolutely fantastic, and I've been working right right from the beginning. I sold the first confusions to the USA, so I know how they rock. Um, hey, here's a question for you. Like, probably the weirdest question that you're ever gonna get asked in the world, Charlie.
I don't know. I've had some weird ones.
Hey, what about different regions in Africa? So, like the sub-Saharans, or as they called now, the Volters.
Right.
Like, would you be able to test for that? Like, I've had so many ball pythons out of the wild that I can see certain traits out of the wild. I've got ball pythons that are uh like, I wouldn't say dwarf, but like smaller and fatter than normal ball pythons. I've had ball pythons out of the wild that are long and slender, and then I've had giants, and then like you can tell from their head
Mhm.
that they are vultures. You know, I've got them out of the sub-Saharan region before that had shipments in from the sub-Saharan region,
Mhm.
and their heads are massive. You can just tell they're a different beast altogether.
Hmm.
So is
Would you
there a
be able to
voltage test?
differentiate that?
So that
You
is
know, a
something.
test for kind of that differential in what I'm saying is like, a dwarf, a normal, and a giant species of royal.
Right. So that's something that myself and my buddy in Europe discussed this week, and he found something that may be able to help with some locality stuff. So we're going to slowly start working on that. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know. I think it's going to be a different method that I'm using because it's not going to be genotyping. It's going to be different. So, like the machine that's right next to me, like I literally put, I do my thing. I extract the DNA. I mix everything. I put it in here, and then all the results literally pop up on this computer right in front of me in an hour and a half. Things are going to have to be done a little bit differently, but it's something that we think can be done, and we're gonna start messing with it.
What do you think about the speed at which now everyone I feel like that's been in this game, 10, 20 years is like the ball python game has went from stuff that people dabble in and like just getting visuals, and obviously we're into quad, triple, even quintuplet heads now and stuff. But it's like it's put the whole thing on steroids. The whole ball python game has just accelerated in the last 5 years or less. What do you see as the future for ball pythons given this line of work that you're in?
I think that there's gonna be less for sale because there's gonna be less that people have to hold back. There's gonna be less misses. There's gonna be less. What do you call it?
Praying to the odds gods?
Right, right. You'll still have to pray to the odds gods, but you won't have to now keep a clutch of 8 snakes back just to breed all 8 of those in 2, 3 years to find out that one of them you hit for het or none of them. Because I've tested whole clutches that are 50% het whatever, and not one of them got that one copy. I just tested a clutch today that they were all 50% hets. I think there were 6 or 7 animals. They all got the het,
Ah,
so it happens, it's crazy. But the odds over time wind up, evening out. I bet I could probably pull the data, and it'd be hard though, because you never know exactly what people are sending you. But
so less byproduct, basically.
that's the word I was looking for. So less byproduct, less wholesale type snakes, because you're not going to be holding back all of those animals and then breeding those animals, and now you're breeding ones that are not het. So now all of those babies you have to get rid of because none of it didn't prove out. So
Right.
I think over time the number of snakes that are available are going to drop. Yes, it's going to be easier and quicker to get to certain levels, but at the same time, there's going to be less for sale. And then it's just prices are going to go up on different things, like the multi recessives or super forms now are probably going to get bigger because, it's a lot of things that are hard to ID in certain combos. Now you'll be able to ID them, so maybe people are going to want more super chocolates or, whatever, instead of like just aiming for chocolate. So yeah, prices will drop on certain combinations due to shed testing, but they're also going to go, I think, I don't know. I think that overall it's going to be good for the industry because of the lesser amount of snakes that are going to be for sale.
I think
It might take a couple of years, but eventually you're going to see that, oh, okay, now these 8 that I held back aren't going to turn into 64.
Right.
Right.
I
This is a
think
good
I
thing.
think a lot of breeders are going to turn around and say that they want sure genetics behind things. What you're saying, like we need to have the understanding of like being certain of what we are doing in a professional realm, and I
If there's
think
no
that
reason,
a
if there's a
lot of
test out
people.
there, if there's a test out there, there's no reason to buy a het anymore. You know, unless you can't afford the het version and you want to take the chance, that's fine. But it's not worth it.
That's this guy right here.
I think like everyone used to roll the dice and try and figure things out. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I got so many things out of Africa that probably are het for something. Like, you don't know what the breeding's going on with the original African animals. Like, and they're het for albino, ghost, or whatever else. And like, even with hypo, look how many different lines of hypo there are out there, and some are compatible and some aren't. So, like understanding the genetics and understanding the framework behind those animals is a real key, and it's so good. I think the genetic testing has brought a whole new element into the game. It's fantastic, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, and I think you see how many mutations just pop up in ball pythons. So, is there a chance? Like people always say, "Oh, how accurate is this test?" Right now, it's 100% accurate. Can things mutate? Sure.
Yeah.
Will the hypo test we have right now be accurate for a hypo that pops up in a couple of years from now? I don't know. We'll see when we have to cross that bridge when it comes. It's just you never know. Like so, it's going to be an always evolving industry, especially for the shed testing. Because
We're
I
talking
think
about hypo. We mentioned desert ghost variations to put that to bed earlier. Dread, well, I was up. I'm so sorry again. I apologize. That guy was from 3 hours away.
No, dude, you're good. You're good.
He popped up today, and I didn't control his drive time, so I do apologize about that. I might have missed it. Have we talked about the different versions of ghost?
No, that's when he just mentioned that triggered that to ask that question because I reading through the forums and stuff once in a while you hear that and people are asking, well, what's the compatibility, hypo, orange ghost, green ghost, whatever it is, and then
Hypo and
desert
orange,
ghost.
hypo and orange ghost are completely the same.
Yeah.
There's no difference genetically between them. The green ghost, I guess that one is different. That's not compatible, and it's not doesn't test the same. Somebody sent me some blue
That's interesting.
beds.
The
That
green ghost, I've found it like from back in the day, the gray ghost, the yellow ghost, the peach ghost, the green ghost. I found them all to be compatible with each other.
so the only one that is confirmed not compatible right now, I believe, is the green. I don't think.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the green is not compatible with the common line of ghost.
That's interesting. Okay.
Okay.
I know also there was a $7 ghost
No,
that was not compatible. And I'm hoping that I have a couple of lines that are not compatible as well, but you just don't know, you know. I never imagined the Masai to be compatible with Ultramel, but I'm thankful that it is. It produced a beautiful result that Sir Philip is about to realize soon.
Does it look like an ultramel? Is it an albino, T positive type albino?
It's more of a rich brown baseball glove. Hold on, let me take you down the moonlit path on the beach. We'll hold hands through the phone. It's a rich baseball glove, leather brown. The alien heads have next to no eyes, if any at all. The portholes on the side are very large, and it's not a faint yellow. It's more of a rich golden yellow. I love it.
It's a nice animal. It is nice.
It's a
The
richer
Masai.
brown and golden,
I
cleaner.
called it a Masai because the outlining color on the animal reminded me of the ground, the earth on the Maasai tribes where they lived and what they put on their skin to keep them uh protected from the sun. You know, the Maasai tribes actually rub the soil onto their skin, and it's exactly the same color as the earth on them. You know, it's amazing, and maybe that's what made them. You know, that's what made the Maasai be able to be alive because it maybe like blended in with the earth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Masai is also a subspecies of giraffe. There are 5 giraffe subspecies, and one of them is the Maasai. And so, along the same kind of
Oh.
naming reasons. Fun
Okay,
cool
I did
fact.
not know that, you know. Like the only species of giraffe that I knew about was one that a guy from the UK actually named. It's oh geez Louise, what is the name?
The main one is the
The Rothschild.
reticulated.
The reticulated, yeah.
That's the main one.
And
But
then
there's
there's
5 nonetheless. That's for our exotic pets in 2025. You know, Charlie, at 1 week out of the month, we're going to be doing different exotic pet, not just reptiles coming up.
Nice.
We've got a falconer from the UK in January, and I'm hoping for a reef keeper in February.
Oh, yeah. I used to be very big into the saltwater stuff, and I have a big tank in my basement in my house, and I kind of neglected it over the years. And just a couple days ago, I spent a ton of money on ordering all new equipment for it. I'm gonna do a monster water change, add some stuff to it, and get some cool fish in there. I've had fish my whole life, and reptiles my whole life, dogs my whole life.
See, this is why we're going to do this, because every reptile person started out with a hamster or a cat or a dog growing up, and then they evolved into like chickens and garter snakes and Lord knows what else. And then here we are as adults with, you know, discus tanks and reef tanks and sugar gliders and baby monkeys and God knows what. But we all still have dogs and cats. That's the cool thing about it. I've kind of learned from this reptile community is we're nature nerds and animal fans, and so I think this
One
is going
thing
to
I
be pretty
wish
cool.
I could have told myself when I was younger was, you're still gonna love everything you love now when you're old and have money. So when you're a kid, you want everything now because you don't think that you're gonna enjoy it when you're your parents' age. And at least for me, that is completely wrong. Everything that I wanted as a kid, I still want now.
On the
You know,
nose. On the nose.
and
Exactly.
now I could afford it, and so I just do it. You know, um, that's you always wanted to rush and get upset that you couldn't get something as a kid, or even a certain car. Like, oh, I'm 17, I wish I could get a Mustang, or this and that. And I'm never going to want a Mustang again when I'm in my 20s or 30s or 40s. Guess what? I'm going to want one and have a nice car, a cool car my whole life.
Yeah, I still want a Porsche 911. I have since the 80s. So that hasn't changed. You're right, man.
Exactly. You know, so it doesn't matter. You're still gonna love it. You're still gonna want to do it, and you know you could just do it right and do it better when you're older and have the money. I mean, I'm 42. I just turned 42 the other day, and I feel like I'm a 12-year-old with a lot more money than I had when I was a kid. So I could do all this stupid stuff, and my wife thinks I'm nuts because you know, I have a million hobbies. Like I love stuff. I started building drones when I was like 22, 23 years old, probably in 2006, maybe even 2005. I was building drones that could fly on their own like they can now, you know, back then where I could only get parts from China. So when I crashed one of these things, I'd have to wait a month to get a part. You know, I was doing this way before DJI or any of that stuff came out. And guess what? I still have them today. I still love messing with them. I still love building them. You know, it's
Prior to 2005, they used a giant helium balloon above them to loft them into the air.
Yeah. I mean, I was in all the RC forums and
Yo,
all
RC cars are fun, dude.
Those are
RC
cool.
cars are fun.
and I still, you know, to this day, if I walk past a store or see something online, I'm like, oh, want that, gotta get it. You know. And the cool thing is, I have a 4-year-old son that I could blame it all on him now.
Yes.
Right? I blame it all on my kids still. So
So, do you think you're going to go into other species? I know we had some comments earlier, and we probably lost them out of the room by now, but that was my fault.
Yeah.
Do you going to go into other species? You think, or do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's only a few more really important ball python mutations that I want to make sure I get before I really focus on some other things.
What are they?
So we got to lock down monsoon. We got to lock down monarch, paint, lace, mandarin, and a lot of these I already have all the data for. I just have to dive into it a little more and just.
But what do you want in your own collection?
Oh, my own collection.
Don't say Bambino.
Yeah. So I just got into paint recently. I really like that. And I am starting to get rid of a lot of, over the last year, I've collected a lot of really high-end ball pythons, all because of this. I haven't paid for any of them. I do genetic testing for most of the large breeders here in the States. And anytime one of them reaches out and says, hey, I got to do this and this, all right, I'll do them. Let's just trade, you know, because
You're going to have some fucking killer offspring coming up.
oh, isn't that the truth?
That's what this sounds like. And there's going to be no bones about what they are, clearly, because of what you got in-house. But
Yeah,
if
so
you have
I-
access to these kind of animals, that means you're going to have some heat coming up
Yeah.
as you produce.
It's, you know, I've had some very expensive animals that I've gotten over the last year. Most of them are very small. So it's going to be
Right.
another year or two before, you know, and I've been collecting mostly females. So I'm raising up, I still need the one or two really high end males because I just don't have the time to keep a large collection anymore. I never had a large collection, I should say, but I counted the other day with all the hatchlings. I have like 60 something snakes, and I told myself I wasn't going to get over 50, and I had 60 something. So I'm like, we got to get rid of some of these, you know. So a lot of them are snakes that, you know, now the prices aren't great on them, and I'm just giving some of them to people that I know that could use them, and because I breed my own ASF. I have a shed next to this shed that all my ASFs are in. If I had an unlimited supply of rodents, I'd probably not care how many snakes I have. But I don't want to have to take the time to clean that many rodent tubs.
Right.
I
Because
can agree.
I don't have the time to do that. And even just cleaning the snakes and watering. Like the other day, I'm like, God, I feel like I've been putting water in bowls for the last 3 hours. I mean, I'm sure it was only like 10 minutes, but 10 minutes to me is, I could do a lot with that time. So I just really need to keep the collection small. I'll never get out of it, because the reason why I'm doing the shed testing is because I was a keeper and a breeder prior. It's what I love, about it, and I'll never get rid of all my animals. I'm always going to be breeding them.
From a marketing and branding standpoint, Gray Rider Reptiles, is that dead, or is that what you're going to continue?
I'm still going to
your animals
as my animal stuff. I'm still going to keep that Morph Market Gray Rider Reptiles, and because a lot of people still know it as it, but it's just that it made sense because I own ShedTesting.com, and when people talk about it's shed testing. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's shed testing. That's what people say.
It's not shed testing and bullpythons.com.
Right. But it's like ShedTesting.com was just the perfect domain name for me to buy.
Oh, hats off to you on the SEO, kicking ass. I type it into Google. You type in shed testing, it isn't about nothing other than instantly your website.com.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
hats off to you.
Honestly,
That's
well
nice.
done, yeah. Absolutely.
And I bought everything similar. I got shed tests. I got shed testing. I got shed testing every single freaking country in the world.com. I bought everything.
Nice.
Yeah. Hats off to you. Hats off to you, Charlie. That's fantastic.
That is smart.
Hey,
and I did
got
that
a
on a
question.
free level here nationally with Constrictly Business. When I realized nobody had used that name at all, I got a .com, got YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere I could, that I was like, well, I'm not using it yet, but I may as well, piss on it and make it my own now, so that I've got rights to it. And it's nice when you got a unique name that you can go around and just claim it when you can see the forest for the trees and you know where you're going, but not everybody else does yet. And you can hatch that plan and execute. That's, I think, from a brand. I love branding, marketing, and I love visuals. I like logos, and I think that stuff's important if you want to go far. And I think that's really, really good on your part to go outside the U.S. borders. I was thinking bigger box than I was.
Yeah, I didn't initially buy it when I first started doing it. It was GrayRiderReptiles.com. But then very soon after, I'm like, let's see what's available. And I started just typing it in, and I'm like, nobody has this. I'm like, all right, buy it. All right, buy this version of it, buy this version of it. They're so cheap to own if nobody else owns it.
It's like $15 a year.
Yeah. So I just went on and just started buying everything. And I learned that lesson years and years ago. My wife, probably say 2008, she started getting into baking a lot. And she's like, oh, maybe I'll start like a home baking thing. I'm like, well, let's buy Cheryl'sBakery.com or something. So I bought it, and nobody owned it. I bought it.
What?
She never did anything with it. It just sat there and whatever. Nothing happened with it. I get an email saying, hey, I want to buy your domain name. How much is it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, who the heck could want this? So I sold it for like $1,000 or something. But I was like, sweet, $1,000. I was like 23 years old or something. I'm like, cool, I could do something with this. I probably could have gotten a lot more because I realized the company is this like Cheryl's Cookies lady who's like huge, major company, and she just wanted everything in that name. But I was like, never making that mistake again. I'm like, anytime I need it, I'm buying everything. It's not worth not having.
Can I ask all you guys one question, like one after each other, right? If you could have any animal on the planet to keep for yourself as a pet, what would it be? And first of all, Charlie, then we'll go through Phil and Dredd. Look at all you guys thinking. Look at your thinking poses.
So I have to say the one that I've always been wanting for a long time that isn't unattainable. It's something that people have. It's a bobcat. I've always wanted a bobcat. I think having a big cat would be awesome. I've never owned a cat in my life. My wife is allergic to cats, so we don't have any cats now. But since I was a kid, I've always thought it'd be cool. And I remember when the internet first started coming out, seeing pictures of people with them on their couches. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, how cool would it be to have like a huge enclosure in your yard and have this thing come chill with you and walk it? I'm like, so that's something that I've always wanted. I probably will never get, but that if I could, I think I would want something like that.
That's cool. Filippo?
That's a tough question, dude. I'm such a nerd, and I watch so much PBS nature stuff.
I could pick 100 things, but that was the first thing that popped in my head because
okay. I'll keep it to 2. If it was a reptile, it would be a Fiji banded iguana, and otherwise, I think I would like a wolverine because it would be so cool if that was like chill enough to run around with you like a dog, but it'd be a fucking wolverine like lopping like next to you. That would be so. I would love a big old wolverine, like but it would have to be, it had to be friendly, of course. But that's the only caveat. I think I would go that route.
Right? Yeah, Rikers says Komodo dragon. My son, like, that's his favorite reptile is a Komodo dragon. He loves them. So if I got a Komodo dragon, he'd be pretty pumped.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for real. Yeah,
Dread?
What about you, Dread?
Dude, I can't never answer it the same every time I get asked this question. So, because I like them all. I don't know. I really want like a super dwarf retic, like for real. And I may eventually one day be able to get one, space providing, but I think probably a super dwarf retic, just something cool, because I just really love retics. I really do. I've never owned one. And a Sasquatch.
A Sasquatch.
And a Bigfoot.
I'll get you one. I'll get you one from the island itself,
Well, I got to get room, but yeah, that would probably be something that, I don't know, I've just always wanted ones from a little kid. I grew up in East Texas, Louisiana. Same like Phil. We've had every animal on the planet, Knew people that had monkeys, people that had cats. Been around all that type of stuff. But yeah,
that would probably be it. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
I was just there. I left there yesterday morning.
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn, and I moved upstate when I got my current job 11 years ago. But somebody in my neighborhood had a monkey. Illegally owned a monkey, and I remember going to her house for a party, and this thing was out of the cage, and it just started sprinting at me, and I like shit my pants, and it just like jumped up and like grabbed you. It was like, oh my god! But I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing in the world. I think it was. I want to say it was a spider monkey. But that was pretty cool.
We had a friend had one of those little spider monkeys like that. It may have been another one. It was a little monkey, and every time you go there to her house, that little joker would jump on you. He was wild. I'm like, I got to quit coming over here.
Yeah,
humping your leg and shit. He was crazy little monkey. He'd be up in the curtains and.
So, like I said earlier, I have a computer science degree, and one of my first jobs was I was an IT guy at the Bronx Zoo. It was actually like they don't pay well, but I didn't care because I had like behind the scenes access to everything in the Bronx Zoo, the Prospect Park Zoo, the New York Aquarium in Brooklyn, Central Park Zoo. Like I worked at all of them, mainly at the Bronx Zoo, and it was just the coolest job in the world because, obviously I spent most of my time in the reptile house. And like the Bronx Zoo is awesome, but they have some crazy stuff that isn't on display. Like, so I would go in the back of the reptile house and the guy would bring me and show me all the stuff that they had that wasn't even on display. Like, I remember they had like, it scared the crap out of me. Like it came in a huge tub. I was walking by and this thing just started thrashing around. I'm like, whoa, what the hell is that? And he's like, oh, it's a caiman. And I'm like, oh my God, this is sick. But I love that. That was cool.
Mills, what's alligators in the back, right? Alligators where I grew up. We didn't have to have them as pets. We just had them in the lake. They was always by the house where we had fish. So anything you had for cut bait or whatever, you just tossed. And like my grandpa raised rabbits and whatnot. We had rabbits too, chickens. So any of that extra stuff from cleaning them, that all went in the canal and the channel back there. And we always had alligators that hang out with.
Yeah,
I wonder why.
My parents own a house in Florida on a lake. So we go out on their boat and there's always alligators everywhere.
And this is in Louisiana, on Cross Lake, Shreveport, Louisiana, is where this was.
The gators are pretty chill, like for
Yeah, it was cool.
personality standpoint. They're not usually terribly aggressive, unless you're like a
Cool.
Pomeranian. But
Mills, what's your animal?
Yeah, Mills, what's your
Mine-
animal? A liger?
oh come on,
No, I'm gonna deal with cheetahs. You know, I'm gonna get some cheetahs soon. So like, yeah, I want to open a cheetah sanctuary. Like most people don't know that there's cheetahs and like people that I've spoken to about opening my sanctuary, like really know what I'm about, and I'm gonna go ahead and find some land in a different country and go ahead and open a cheetah sanctuary because I love cheetahs. You know, like cheetahs are amazing, and there's a few different species of cheetahs that people don't really know about, but the one that I want to actually understand more than any other is the king cheetah. The king cheetah actually has it's a disease that affects its hips and they can't walk properly. But I want to look at it genetically wise to see how you can strengthen the gene because there's no king cheetahs in the wild no more. And they're an amazing species. They have stripes down their backs rather than the spots, and they're pretty crazy, you know. So I want to work with the king cheetah.
I volunteered to come live and work at the sanctuary, so
Yeah, we just got to figure out where it's going to be. Like,
let me know, and Social will put me in the mail and send me there.
hey, we can get you some cheap land here in Arkansas. You know, I could find you a spot.
I think it's either going to be in Indo or in Thailand or in Africa. So that's why I just got to fly out to the three places next year and find where I want to open the sanctuary. You know.
I vote Africa.
Africa. Sophie said she's going to send me to Africa.
So
She's
since
coming.
we started, Charlie, we started
I'm
this show
sending
about
myself to Africa.
a little over what? It's been about 5 months or so. The show just keeps rolling on. It's just growing and growing, and the list of guests has been amazing. And since day one, Dred's wanted the Tiger King on this show, and so maybe we'll end up with the Cheetah King instead, a reasonable facsimile. You know?
He would want the Tiger King.
I said we're getting the Tiger King one day. Maybe not, but it's just a wish.
That's horrifying.
Why
Hey,
not?
we
I want to
got-
hear a story like just out from him, not Netflix.
I
want to
don't.
hear it.
I don't want to hear it.
Well,
It
you don't
seems
have to
like a
listen.
bunch of bull butter. Bull
We'll
butter.
send you to the get your toes done.
Charlie, you got any questions for us? Anything you want to know that we could chime in, and anything that we might be able to share with you that you want to know before we let you go?
So you guys both are ball python keepers as well?
Yeah.
How many do you guys have?
I am mainly so ball pythons I kind of backed into. I got into green tree pythons and Brazilian rainbow boas because I've wanted them for 30 years and I never got to have them. I won't bore you. I started out in reptiles and worked at the St. Louis Zoo as a keeper and big reptile shops in St. Louis, and I did saltwater aquariums commercially for a decade. That's the cliff notes. But I never got to own green tree pythons and Brazilian rainbow boas. Those are two favorite of mine, and so I started gathering those for breeding stock with the purpose of breeding.
Sold, I have them.
And I kind of got into ball pythons. I honestly, for real, ignored them literally for 25 years. I had no idea what had evolved from back when it was like normals and albinos. Like this is before there were pieds. You know what I'm saying? Like I stopped paying attention. They were boring to me. And so then I started to kind of become aware of it, and the genetics and everything, the morphs and the different, how you can play with the colors and the patterns, and then the unpredictable interactions when you mix new stuff kind of drew me in. I just traded off 3 ball pythons, one on Saturday selling and one on Monday selling and shipping out. So I have, I don't know, dude, 20 ball pythons right now, I guess. I'd have to, and then I have 3 going on 5 Brazilian rainbow boas and 2 going on 3 green tree pythons. So I'm in the neighborhood of 25 now. I was in the neighborhood of 30 animals, but that's it. If I spend more money, it's going to be on very select ball pythons, and it's going to be on chondros.
And a few ball pythons.
I'm up to 50. That's with the babies and all of them over here. 50 balls. I have a speckled king snake, and then I have a boa, a hypo, BCI boa. We have a koi pond. That's really cool.
I got one of those too. I built a
Yeah,
koi.
we love the koi pond. My boys dug it. We love the koi pond. I've had all sorts of stuff. We've had iguanas. I had a green tree iguana. I had a ball python. Was my first exotic when I was a kid, and then we got the iguana after that. And
Yeah, I'd say my first ball python was in mid 90s or maybe 96, 97. I bought a normal ball python from the pet store. That was the first snake I owned besides like, even in Brooklyn, like I grew up very close to the ocean. So there were some like water snakes and stuff. So my dad would catch some and we'd keep it for like a week or two and then, let it go. But ball python was probably the first snake I got. And we had iguanas growing up and turtles.
I had a big sulcata turtle. The het sucker was over 100 pounds. When my boys was little, they could get on his, ride him around the backyard.
Dang.
He was cool.
What do you think about the rules in the 5 boroughs? Do you remember when that was enacted? When you can't even have ball pythons, much less anything bigger there. Why in the world did that, or when did that happen? What's your thoughts? And have you ever been to the White Plains show? I feel like that's one of the big.
I grew up going to the White Plains show in the 90s.
That's one of the big ones that not many people go to. What do you think of it?
It's like I loved it as as a teenager, and in my 20s I used to go. And when I first moved out of Brooklyn. I moved to Westchester County, which my condo I owned was about 10 to 15 minutes away from the White Plains show. So every time I would go to that. I remember going there in the 90s and they had anacondas for sale. And now they can't even, in White Plains you could sell ball pythons and boas.
Yeah, I know White Plains. I thought they're outside the boroughs because they're on Long Island because you can get around some of the rules, but is there still some big snake rules there?
Yeah, so New York State, you're not allowed to have, you can't have retics, you can't have anacondas, you can't have certain monitors. You can't have like olive pythons, I think.
Olives?
Yeah. I don't think you can't have a berm.
Now, is it because of the population density? They're worried about someone getting constricted, or
yes,
it can't be? They're not going to survive the weather there.
No, I know. It's just stupid. I mean, I live on 2 acres, and I have, even technically, you can't have a super dwarf retic. My super dwarf retic, well, I keep it at my dad's house in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Obviously, I would never have one here.
Right.
But if I did, it would be very small and probably way less than my biggest ball python.
Right.
Right. But technically, it's still considered a reticulated python, and
why would they regulate those species, those mid-sized species, man?
Invasive species.
Invasive to what?
If I let any reptile that I have here out in my yard right now, it's 30 degrees, they're dead.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Like they're putting regulations. It's silly. Like
in New York City, I sort of understand. You live in an apartment building and you have some idiot that has a retic and he doesn't know what he's doing, and that thing gets out. Odds are nothing's going to happen. People are just afraid. Odds are it's not going to kill anybody. But do I want my kid walking in a hallway and a retic?
It's because they released them into the Everglades, right? And they became an invasive species.
But that's Florida. He's in New York.
Yeah, I know, but that's why the regulations come up. That's why the AC Act came in,
we could have boas. You could have a boa. I could have my green tree monitor. I couldn't get a water monitor here. Even in upstate New York, I can't get a water monitor.
You can, right? You can get whatever. Yeah, you can. Yeah. Like you can.
Right, you can get
whatever you want, but you have to have the right. You have to have the right. It's not even licenses. You have to have the right accreditation. We'll speak about it later. I can show you how you can do it. No problem. Especially
I mean, I don't have the time for a monster. I would love to have a black dragon or something, but
Yeah, I'm getting them out of Thailand soon.
I don't really know if I have the time to care for and train and make sure I work with something like that long enough.
Are tree monitors difficult to keep thriving, or is it just they're pricey because they're popular and they're limited in their numbers? And
You need
I
the
have
right enclosure.
Mine
They're
was
easy to
pricey because it's a Cordensis, and there's not many captive bred Cordensis out there.
and that's a locale, right?
Yeah, that's a Biak. It's
Yeah.
from Biak Islands.
Yeah.
I got mine recently when I was in Dallas show from Corey Martin, and this is the coolest reptile I've ever owned. It like literally will come out, walk around, jump on my head, has never bit me. It's so cool. I love it, but they're expensive because there's not many captive breds out there.
Yeah, yeah.
you were at the Dallas show in
yeah.
August.
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
get a
so was I.
Oh, really? Yeah. If you get a wild caught, they could be nasty. This thing, though, chill. I open the enclosure, it'll hop right on my arm.
How you doing?
Look at that.
Tree monitors are amazing. I love they look neon lime green.
Turn
They call them
around.
yellows. I love the yellows and the blue. And I don't know enough about them.
Yeah, look up the Cordensis. They're really nice. They're like a turquoise almost. They're like they're really
rare. Really rare. That's cool that you got one.
Yeah.
They're really rare. Like I'm gonna try and get some stuff out of the window this year as well, you know?
That's neat. That's something I just don't. I'm not very knowledgeable about.
My new look.
Your poo poo's gonna get you.
This is my new look, guys.
The dog's gonna steal the hat.
Duke Dredd, the coonskin hat.
Well,
Reptiles
it's
wise, what I got.
about 10 o'clock here, and I got to get up early for my day job tomorrow. So
Absolutely.
I have to call it quits right now. But I really appreciate you guys having me on. It was awesome. I'm down to do it anytime you want.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for the information.
Dude, thanks for coming, hanging out, man. We loved it. All the good knowledge. I mean, I'm mind blown. This was awesome. Hey,
Yeah,
I like to do
anybody
this.
have any questions? You know, you could. I'm on Instagram all the time. You know, DM me there or
Sweet.
email charlie@shedtesting.com. You know, I always get back to everybody, and I'm always down to have a conversation, even if you're not sending me any shows or anything. I don't care. I like talking to people. So
Listen, guys, y'all go support the Shed Testing account at Shed Testing on TikTok. Let's try to get his following going on there so he can come jump in hangouts with us
Yeah,
and whatnot. You know, be a part of the Naughty Nation campfire and do the thing.
Thanks for your time, brother.
I'm really
I appreciate
blessed
it. Thanks for the knowledge. You have a good rest of the night.
yeah, have a great
Really
night,
blessed
guys.
for working with you as well, Charlie.
I'll talk to you soon,
it's a
Mills.
blessing, like to be able to work with someone that's so intelligent, you know. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, you know.
All right, man. I appreciate
Thanks,
you
Charlie.
guys. I'll talk to you guys soon.
So yeah.
Later, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Dude, that was a good show. Good knowledge. A lot of good info.
For sure. Absolutely. So how
And
about
Mills,
that?
and Mills saved this. Thank you, brother Mills. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mills.
Thank
Yep.
you guys. Well, thank you for having me on. You know, I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you for
I appreciate it, and I didn't realize that was going to be more than just a tank drop off. It ended up being a transaction, but hey,
No,
moved
dude, it
in-
went good, man. We covered a lot of good ground, and then Mills is like had something to bring up, and I'm like, sweet, this is perfect. Let's run with it. And
So
it
I
just worked out.
really
really
got two
appreciate
freaking big enclosures for adult chondros now.
Yeah, let's see him.
I sell one snake for $150 on Saturday, and that means these were free because I traded 3 ball pythons and $150 for them. Hang on, I can't.
These are the
move-
These are the ones he custom makes.
Yep. They got
Those are nice.
venting.
Oh yeah, man, you can mount that
Got
radiant
a
heat
nice
mount
little
right
lip
up there.
there. And then here's the other one that I just took the lock off. They have a lock on them and everything.
So what are the dimensions on those?
2 by 2 by 2.
2x2s. Nice. And
That's
that's
terrible
perfect for
lighting,
your
yeah.
GTPs, huh?
Yeah, adult enclosures, dude. Like
Yeah, you're adults. Okay.
that's the end game. And I already got nice PVC branches from Tyler's Green Trees out of Denver. I got the holders and the anti-spin branches and everything sitting there.
Yeah.
I've got that. I've got the thermostat. I've got 2 radiant heat panels. I've got everything I need to. One I could use sooner rather than later. The other one's just going to be something I grow into.
Dude,
But the price is so
that right
good.
there, that's a good trade.
Dude, that's like these things are like $400 to
I'm
$900.
saying- That's what I'm saying, dude. You came out ahead on that deal.
They're nice and square. They're glued and seamed up. They got no sharp edges. Like I'm pretty happy with the workmanship on them.
And does he make these for the public? I mean, you can order them from him or what?
He makes them for the public. I don't know about ordering. He had run a Facebook ad. Is how I found him. He's pretty small time. So,
Okay.
but now I got space, and now I can start some work on my big 4x2x2 enclosure.
Dude, this is awesome.
Now that's vacated, I can do some work in here and change it up and make it for my Brazilian rainbow boa big girl.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we could make some custom stuff for you. Like, I just need the knowledge, then we can make some custom stuff. We got the racks coming out there soon.
Yes.
We'll make other stuff as well, you know, so that it's specific for each species to have the perfect environment for each species. And let's just make America great again.
Let's do it. Well, this is awesome. All right, guys. Great show. Appreciate it. Thanks for all the love and support, everybody. Back from New York City, Talenture Agency. Boom. I'm going to be on the Chondro Corner on YouTube on the 16th of Monday night coming up. And next week, we have Emilio from Trap Talk with a surprise guest. So pretty awesome. Emilio will be here.
Sweet. That's going to be fun.
Hells yes.
Special guest,
Lifers,
surprise
Pets
guest.
Dogs, thanks for hanging us with us. We appreciate it.
See, we had a surprise guest tonight. You see that? You didn't even know.
Well, I didn't. That was that big of a surprise. Yes.
Right? You see that? Dread pulled it off again.
Thanks for covering me, dude. I appreciate you.
We got you. We got you. You know that.
Hey, loving the glasses, by the way.
Yes.
Get new glasses.
Love them, dude. Love them.
Who?
Look at
Yours.
you.
No, they're the same glasses.
Really?
They look different.
You're looking all kinky, Philip.
Something. He's right. Something.
Yeah, there's something different about you, Philip.
I know he's all clean shaven and
Filippo.
spiffied up. Maybe. I don't know. He's just
Look at you.
he's just
Look at those
vibrant right now. I
sexy
think
shit.
this New York trip was
Look
good.
at that
for
little
him.
smoke on his face. Look at that.
Yeah, look at him.
Yeah,
Did someone
look
come
at all
visit you this
sexy
morning?
and shit.
Did
Say
you have a
what?
visitor this morning?
No.
Okay.
nobody-
Never mind.
Ain't no ladies come visit me. I'm just over here trying to get ahead in the world. Just a squirrel trying to get a nut, you know?
We know
You put
that.
some makeup on? Your
Yes.
cheeks look like they're kind of like a little bit blushing. Like, was it the comment that just made you blush?
No, it might be a
Sexy
filter.
guy?
Maybe is it a filter on here? Have I taken 10 years off my age?
Maybe.
I don't know. Like, you're looking younger than me.
A lady can't tell her secrets.
Oh, behave.
All right, you knuckleheads.
All
Have a
right,
good
guys.
night.
Have a good night.
All right, peace.
Peace, brother. Peace, brothers.